welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello everyone, welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Broiler Chicken Show. Big burp there to get the show going. That's always a good sign. Happy Sunday. It is the 14th of January. Geez, we're halfway through the month of January. And of course, we've got our big TRI meetup down in El Salvador, and I guess just about exactly 1 month. So if you are interested in participating in that, come on the site. I've asked the two gentlemen who are sort of going to be quarterbacking at TBG and Adam to come on and do regular sort of updates on the progress of everything. I think the long and short of it is, if you happen to be in the neighborhood, it's a bit of a different neighborhood, but anyway, middle of Central America. We're going to be there, I think, basically the 15th through the 22nd, actually maybe 23rd, I'm not quite sure. I know that locally they do have an event. I think it's either the last Friday of the month or the second last. TBG is going to clarify for that for us. So I don't know whether we want to be leaving either or ending up the 23rd or maybe even the 24th we'll leave. But anyway, point of the matter here is that's coming pretty quick. I'm going to drive down to LA. I think it's kind of a fun experiment. As of the 5th, 6th, I'll be leaving Vancouver and making my way down to LA, and then we'll hop on a plane and fly down from LA. That's probably a bit easier. No real direct flights from Vancouver, China, whatever you want to call it. God, this country is such a mess right now. But actually, interestingly enough, you can see, and I was kind of making reference to it on the I guess the daily brief and even the public show that I was doing on Friday, that it appears that the economic situation, basically no GDP growth, inflation out of control. I guess they're trying to get inflation back under control, but like $20 for a McDonald's McCrap meal. And you can just imagine how disastrous the inflation picture is here now. Interestingly enough, though, I think there is a real concerted effort to try and keep the bubble inflated. All of these baby boomers are long their houses, and I don't think they really want to see those house prices fall. So as a result, and the politicians, their basic spew is, oh, just build more houses. That'll solve the problem. I think this is just purely a speculative bubble that's gotten completely out of control. Usually these things have to end one way and one way only. It's just really a question of time. Having said that, there is some anecdotal evidence that the Bank of Canada is even starting to do things like quantitative easing again to keep the bubble inflated. So who knows what the hell's going to happen there. We'll say down in the States, which, Canada thinks so wonderfully of itself, but in reality, it's a little cousin of the United States. And if the United States catches a cold, then Canada's in big trouble. United States economy is actually fairly strong. So as a result, I don't think the Canadian economy is going to crap out here. But as we had sort of pointed out in our newsletter here, the inflation data coming out of the States, especially for the consumer price index, is still pretty chunky. I think it's probably the best way to describe it. Thursday we had a whole bunch of inflation numbers. Core rate came in actually a little bit higher than expectation down in the States. And of course, that's what the Fed likes to follow. And then sort of the annualized rate still sitting, 3.9% kind of idea. Let's see if I can get this right. Sorry. There we are. Oh, no. Can Brian figure out how these silly computers work? There we go. 3.9%, and even the market was kind of hoping for a little bit of a drop. So I don't think you're going to get much of a reprieve. In fact, month over month inflation rate ticked up and quite a bit more than expected. So I don't think you're going to get the Fed lowering interest rates anytime soon. I've talked about this at length. I do not believe if there's one place in the world that you should not be looking for economic disaster, it's in the United States of America. That's what this past decade was all about. And technically, the United States of America should have receded back into the backwater berg. If it had been a situation like Germany after the end of the First World War, keep in mind, heading into the First World War, Germany was basically world superpower. And Britain was sitting there going, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck. What do we do? What do we do? So the United States maintained its sort of superpower status and the hegemony status, which meant that its currency was still considered sort of the world currency. Whereas at the end of the First World War, and ironically enough, Germany didn't actually lose the First World War. It was technically supposed to be an armistice, kind of like what you see happening in North Korea right now and South Korea. I mean, technically that war actually is still going on. And it's interesting how the North Koreans are trying desperately to get that war going again. But the long and short of it here is over the past decade, because there was no realistic alternative to the US dollar hegemony, the hegemony continued. They diluted the shit out of their currency to save their market and their economies when the economy was really bad and structurally everything was a disaster. And it looks like, to all intents and purposes, they've gotten away with it. So US still remains world hegemony. And it's not really like the US situation and the currency and all of that is anything great to write home about. It's just all the other currencies of the world are just absolute disasters. And it's sort of like, well, the US is really, it's kind of like its shit stinks the least. It's still shit. It just, at least it's slightly more palatable. I mean, you see what Vladdy's doing in Russia. Can you imagine if you invested your life savings in rubles? How's that going for you? I mean, you see on a consistent basis all the one fraud, just staggering frauds too. Just, buildings have absolutely, you would think that there would be, CCP, we're socialists, we're all about the workers and the people and all that. What a load of horse shit. They're not about the workers and the people and stuff. They're all about, who's the local strong man and who can, screw the other guy off and have a bigger Lambo and all that kind of stuff than his neighbor, right? Which, anyway, point of the matter is U.S. hegemony still persists. I mean, hell, in China here, this doofus leader of ours has gone and literally spent more money in his 8 years as a minority government. And that's what kills you. The guy doesn't even have a mandate from the population. He's a minority leader. Fucker. He's gone and spent more money on, sort of empty social programs that really don't do anything. I mean, you see what's happening in Argentina. They finally hit the wall. And now they're going, okay, get rid of all this fluff nonsense that government is funding here because it just doesn't do anything constructive. Of course, Brian here probably alienating a bazillion people as I speak. But anyway, point of the matter is, if I was sitting there with $1 million, which, I've got a big chunk of money, do I have it in China money or do I have it in US dollars? Well, most of my wealth is in US dollars right now. And I'm very happy just to stay there. I mean, I do not want to take a risk of investing in China. That's for damn sure. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. So the point of the matter here is, I think all the people that were expecting the U.S. Federal Reserve to be cutting interest rates dramatically and the U.S. dollar collapsing, I don't think you're going to see that. It was interesting to see on Friday, we had producer prices come out. And interestingly enough, we do have a little bit of a deflationary push there with producer prices. So this is within the manufacturing sector within the U.S. economy. And, I hate to say it, I don't think that the U.S. manufacturing sector has come back as strongly as it was in decades and centuries gone by, I suppose. And, with the baby boomers being as old as they are, I think, the consumer part of the economy is still dominating, and all those baby boomers in retirement spending money like drunken whores on their golf courses and Cadillacs and all those kind of fun things that old people buy. So interestingly enough, from an actual manufacturing perspective, it doesn't look like there's any inflationary problems within the U.S. market, but from the consumer perspective, it still looks like that inflation is sticky. That's probably the way that I would describe it. As a result, I could see, kind of like what you see in China right now, I could see that you don't see interest rates go down. I really don't think that they're going to do that, but you might hear the Fed start to say things. I doubt it with this kind of inflationary talk here. Like, this isn't the case in Canada right now. The GDP growth is zero and everything's just flatlining. But you might, if we do start to see that the US econ numbers get soft, that the Fed says, okay, well, you know what, maybe we'll just back off on the quantitative tightening a little bit. And that's the way that they stimulate the economy. Anyway, that's Brian's 2 cents. Of course, you guys have seen over the years my interest rate forecast kind of images. In fact, actually, I think we're going to try and put together a nice little sort of summary of what to expect and why out of Bitcoin here. And one of the conversation pieces, of course, is short-term interest rates. Have they gone up enough? Have they maybe gone up too much? Where are we in the 4-year cycle? And my hunch is, just like we saw back, ironically enough, before the US housing market broke, and especially the fact that we are actually in an election environment, I would not be surprised to actually see the Fed want to be perceived by the public as not influencing the economy, not influencing the election. The easiest way for them to do that is just month after month after month. They just say, well, no change, no change. We're watching the data. We're not doing anything. We're just watching the data. And you can already start to see it in the actual prints here. This is pretty much turning into a very similar type scenario. Once we're done the election, and this obviously is going to be a huge driver. And frankly speaking, anybody who's going to try and predict the outcome of elections, good luck, especially like 8, 9, 10 months down the road. I always say incumbents are extremely difficult to knock out of power, which was sort of one of the big surprises why Mr. Trump did get ousted there. But, was there influencing of those election results? I'll leave that up to you to decide on your own. But if Mr. Biden does happen to get reelected, and for one reason or another, and I hate to say it, but it almost seems like, the U.S. Republican-controlled House of Representatives, they're making life very, very difficult for the socialists right now. But at the same time, too, if they keep doing this, and there is talk that they're going to try and shut the U.S. government down again here in the next few weeks. The bill that was proposed to sort of fund the U.S. government for the next year or so. The right wing part of the Republican Party down in the States is going to try and put the kibosh on that deal. You might find if the Republicans down in the right wing part of the Republicans down in the House, if they just make everything grind to a halt, and then all of a sudden you see the stock market roll over. Keep in mind, we're definitely thinking about things like January Barometer, and January Barometer is suggesting that it's going to be a tough year. Yes, we did see a nice, this is the first hour of trade. This is the first day. This is the first week. Now we're going through the first month. Clearly you can see sort of about midpoint was a pretty nice rally. And probably that's like maybe, your seasonal rally the market into May, June, July, maybe kind of idea. But you can see the back half. Oh boy, big trouble. It was interesting at the very end of the first day, there was a big rally right out of the very end of the day. And I think this is sort of the dead cat bounce reaction rally following the conclusion of this election coming up here in November. I do kind of like that thinking. And usually, of course, buy when it snows, sell when it goes. You saw what happened in the stock market in October, at the end of October, beginning of November. It just launched higher here over the past 3 or 4 months. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is it feels as though we've rallied into sort of this mid point pivot. And it actually was interesting when we were going through the options open interest there. And keep in mind, we do have a very big options expiry coming up here on Friday, the 19th, third Friday of the month is the big leaps expiry. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's quite a bit of market manipulation into that event. Then the question is, and have they propped the market up here enough now to make sure that all of the put options expire worthless, which is generally what they kind of want to have happen. Question here is, does Wall Street want to get the public to take a whole bunch of stock off their hands? They did it in 2020. It was absolutely textbook. January 2020, Wall Street, they just tons and tons of call options were written, and the public, of course, generally speaking, they're the ones buying options. And they all expired in the money. So as a result, the public was forced to buy the S&P 500 right at the top of the market. And then, of course, we all know what happened with the sickness and into February and March of 2020, which leads you to believe that maybe what you saw there in March of 2020 was actually pre-planned by the 1%. It's all a scam. It's all a fraud. The whole sickness, our whole society was played like a fiddle through all of that, which frankly speaking, the longer that I live, the more that I see the way that these capitalists operate, the more I believe that that actually is the truth, which is a sad commentary on this species. Really, really evil, nasty little fuckers we are. I got to tell you that much, by crackers. Anyway, so market bid up into the middle of January here. I don't think that's a shock. The question here is going to be, how do we come out the other side of this? And as I said, there are a few sort of geopolitical things that are brewing here, which I hate to say, they're kind of not setting the backdrop for happy-go-lucky party, happy fun times. I did see that there was an election in Taiwan recently, and the very anti fuck you CCP people, which keep in mind, like these guys, the CCP idiots over in mainland China, there's still technically a civil war going on in China, by the way. So these idiots are like, we won the civil war, fuck you, China's all one country, and you're just rebels over there in Taiwan. The Taiwanese are the people that used to be in power in China before the days of Mao and CCP. And of course, it was Shanghai Shek and all those kind of guys. And they're like, "Fuck you! We're not part of China. It's like my, you know what?" And it's interesting because this guy is a very, very anti CCP guy. And could this all of a sudden get, like I said, I mean, technically, these two, Taiwan and China, technically are still at war. This could deteriorate very quickly, and all of a sudden, boom, we've got basically World War III underway. We've got, of course, the military action going on there in Eastern Europe. It appears that that's just sort of turned into a stalemate, which is fascinating because it's interesting to see how the Russian military hardware is it's a laughing stock in comparison to the Western military hardware. And the only way that Russia can really make any progress is what they call these things, these meat waves, where just thousands and thousands of poor Russian boys are just sent to the slaughter. Just so sad. But anyway, the point of the matter here is you've got that going on there in Eastern Europe. That's not going to help the economic situation. I mean, that's not really the best economic backdrop for a place like Europe. You've got now the Middle East, of course, is up in arms. I do find it kind of almost laughable how these Hutus out of Yemen are really putting up a stink, but really they're almost like a non-existent event. But nonetheless, maybe that starts to spiral out of control and it turns into a major shoot 'em up with all the players there locally. Who knows? And then, of course, like I said, you've got this China situation. And then what I do find interesting about this, and this is what I sort of pointed out in the newsletter. Oh, by the way, we have a raffle at the end of the show here today. But in the newsletter, I pointed out that, the little clown over there in North Korea, he is trying desperately anything he can possibly do to, provocate. That's not the right word. Provoke, I guess, the South into getting that shooting match going. And there's another situation that technically North and South Korea are still technically at war. So it just feels as though, and of course, all of our celestial events people at TRI have been telling us all along here that 2020s, whether you call it the Klaus Great Reset, fuck you, in the financial services industry, which is really affecting all of our standards of living, by the way. That's what his Great Reset is all about, is we're going to steal all your wealth. Hope you're enjoying the show. Whether it be sicknesses, from what I understand, the 1% is trying to jack the whole world up, but we never really made comment into it. But I suppose maybe this coming newsletter will make reference. I'm sure you probably have all seen it. What are they calling it? Like something like the X global virus or something like that. If anybody remembers this, but literally the WHO here, they've disease X. They're like literally priming the pump. Nothing's really happening here. Nothing's coming, but you can see how they're basically priming the pump so that they're going to give they will have, say, well, we give you lots of warning, so you can't make the argument we didn't prepare you, but you can almost see that they're, especially if a guy like Trump actually wins this upcoming election, the 1%, the banksters, the Klauses, the Joey Diamonds, to a certain degree, Chair Powell, although I don't think he's a willing participant, but that's why his hair is so white as it is now. But they're all sort of priming the humans to be locked back in their prison cells, shut the economies down, turn the printing presses back on, hyperinflate the economies. As I had said there earlier, in a weird sort of way, you can kind of see it. And I don't know whether I can show you this or not. But recently, one gentleman on YouTube who does videos, I can't remember exactly the guy's name, but he was pointing out recently that actually the Bank of Canada recently they have dramatically reduced their balance sheet. Is there a reason why maybe they have reduced their balance sheet as aggressively as they have recently? And I might actually make the argument that it's to give them permission to go on another one of these big fucking money printing binges. I don't know which is current. Maybe I would do and also too, remember that when these central banks say that they are reducing their balance sheet, this one might tell us balance sheet shrinking, right? And I don't know whether this is accurate, and I'm just pulling this out of my ass here for this video. But just understand that what these people are doing is they're loading up on the bonds, and then they're just letting what they say the bonds expire and run out to maturity, and then the people pay back the loans, whatever, but they're not getting rid of the money. The money supply, the actual growth of the money supply is not going down just because these central banksters are reducing their balance sheets. And I think that's super important for everybody to understand, is that just because they talk about quantitative tightening, all that means is that they want to remove their vulnerability that they have because they are so heavily long all these bonds. Well, that's fine. Let the bonds mature, let them run off their balance sheet. And basically, the people that originally borrowed the money, they pay the money back, whatever. But they're not getting rid of the currency. The currency is still staying in circulation, i.e., the amount of money in the marketplace is not going down appreciably, i.e., get used to Klaus's reset. Now, if they do bring this down and then all of a sudden mysteriously we just so out of the blue happen to have another disease where they have to shut everything down and they have to go on another big money printing thing, which they'll call it quantitative easing. Oh well, you know what? We're gonna have to do another little bit of spat easing just to make sure that we get through this latest sickness, whatever the hell you want to call it. All they're going to do is just bring this right back up to the old highs, and they don't even have to necessarily even break the market to new highs. You can see that they've almost reduced this by 50%. Now, I don't know whether that's the case or not. It's pure conjecture on my part, but it is something that I was thinking about recently, that them by the central bankers being so aggressive on this quantitative tightening, it has given them more wiggle room, that if they do want to go and do a whole bunch of more quantitative easing again, when maybe certain politicians and those kind of things maybe are a little bit suspect, they can generate the economic conditions, i.e. a mysterious global virus that happens to pop up out of nowhere, to continue this great reset that's basically just destroying our standard of living. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. I don't know whether I gave you any value out of that whatsoever, but that's your rant from the Beamish here on Sunday. So all in all, I don't see any reason why you're going to see any reducing in short-term interest rates here in the short term, in the near term, right? And as I had said earlier, I think if anything with regard to interest rates, I think the Fed's probably just going to try and just stay pat and kind of recede into the background. U.S. economy, I think, is very, very strong. There's still inflationary pressure. And if anything, I think if you are running a global economy right now, the United States is actually the best place to be. Everywhere else in the world is an absolute shit show. So there's my comment with regard to the economy and in general. And as I said there just a moment ago, I do believe that, the rest of the global economy, whether it be over there in Europe with, geez, keeps moving around, Ukraine and all that mess, whether it be now the Middle East with Gaza and all that. And I do find it hilarious that of all the people in the world to be causing trouble, it's the Hutus out of Yemen. And what's a hilarious side story of this, which is so funny. I do believe that the Russians were trying desperately to kind of change the conversation because it was all about Ukraine. It was all about Ukraine, all about Ukraine, all about how Russia is a complete it's a shadow of its former self. And if I understand correctly, people are literally freezing to death in Moscow right now because all of the infrastructure within the society and the country is just absolutely breaking apart. It's just a disaster inside there. But I do believe that Russia basically pulled a string and, sort of cashed in a favor. And the Iranians told their sort of minions around the region that, okay, well, we owe the Russians this, so we've got to step up and start causing trouble here locally. That's what I think is going on in the Middle East. And it's so funny how it's coming out of these really weird things. I mean, this whole Gaza scenario, frankly speaking, if I was the leader of these local Muslim sects and stuff out of Gaza, I mean, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head. This was suicide. This was literally suicide what they just did here. And if anybody had thought this through, they would have gone, there's no way we can win out of what we're doing here. So the only reason why I see this happening is because there's like geopolitical strings are being pulled here. And now, as I said, I'm a little disappointed. The one beneficiary out of all of this is Japan. Not only Japan economically is doing well if the United States is doing well, and you've heard me barking about how I love Toyota Motor Company as a car. If I was going to be invested in any car companies, that's the car company I wanted to be invested in. And that stock has just gone absolutely crazy. From what I understand, the Consumer Electronics Show recently kicked off, and Sony is just a major player in a whole bunch of partnerships with different companies. So probably Sony is going to become a huge leader going forward here. But I'd also argue, too, that what you're seeing with China and all of this gives Japan actually permission to become a local military power again after spending 50, 60 years living in the doghouse following the Second World War. So, I might actually argue that if you're going to be bullish of anybody in the region, Japan's probably the country to be bullish of. The only issue here is, things like North Korea and stuff. They're trying desperately to, shit disturb and try and cause trouble. And now, of course, with this Taiwanese election, how does this play out? Clearly the local Taiwanese have just basically given the finger to Winnie the Pooh. The question, I guess, ultimately is, does Mr. Biden and his puppets do they actually kowtow to Winnie, or do they stand firm? And obviously, this is going to have a huge bearing on the November elections as well. So there's a lot of pretty big moving parts. I might even argue that if Biden does win this next election, I wouldn't even be surprised if China says, like, that means we have no choice. We have to go in with whatever the hell we have. Even if we have water in our missiles, we have to go. And, it turns into another Russia scenario where just, maybe not thousands of Chinese, maybe tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands. Because when the Chinese and the Indians went to war there back in the 1950s, 60s, man, they were stories that the Chinese, they were just throwing their soldiers' lives away. They actually forced their soldiers to climb over a mountain to invade India, and it turns out it was a really smart military move. But just I mean, literally thousands of Chinese boys died in having to try and climb over this mountain in the middle of winter, and you all can imagine how badly that went. So, oh God, I mean, this world, it's a tough, tough world. I'll tell you that much by crackers. And all the, like I said, all the astrological people, they said, this 2020s decade, it's gonna be tough. Now, with all that said, that's what's sort of going on in the rest of the world. And how long did that take me? Only about a half an hour. That's good. Let's get to what's important here to the people who are actually watching this video. Brian, you can rant all you want about all this China stuff, and but it really doesn't make that much of a difference in my life at the end of the day. Actually, let's pop on over to that YouTube page. I haven't even checked in with you guys. I've been so wrapped up in just talking about what the hell's going on in the world. Yeah, let's see, where are we here? Daily Brief. No, it's not Daily Brief. This is Broiler Chickens. There's Broiler Chickens. Obviously, the big conversation for this audience, and really it's been in a weird sort of way, actually, it's very similar to the tone of what you see going on in sort of the rest of the world, how fucked up this world is. We have the Bitcoin ETFs. Woo, it's a miracle. Our sort of market of note this particular week. Obviously, I spent the again, how do you move this damn thing over? There we go. Spent the week sort of illustrating some things that jumped out at me about this ETF that has finally been listed. I mean, where do we begin? I guess the first thing that I would say is I've been at this game a very, very long time. And in my experience, what I've found is that these ETF, and it doesn't matter if it's an ETF, I think probably the better expression to use is IPO, initial public offering, right? And then in this particular case, it's a public offering of units that theoretically should track the price of our beloved Bitcoin in the marketplace. Whether they actually do or don't, well, that's another conversation for another day. It has been interesting over the years to track how things like the over-the-counter GBTC Bitcoin ETF, the grayscale product, how it would trade at a significant premium to Bitcoin price, then trade at a significant discount to Bitcoin price, or sort of their net asset values. So just understand that, just because these ETFs list, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to track Bitcoin price exactly. I mean, generally speaking, they should, but there's a lot of sort of moving parts with regard to these things. So usually, in my experience, these think of an initial public offering event as an end of a very, very long process. You might even argue that the process of this listing of this ETF, and I've got down here. Can I not zoom in any further? Oh, damn, that sucks. I can go out, but I can't zoom in anymore. Damn it. Oh well. Well, actually, I guess I can just show you this chart on TradingView. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes life. Hey, there's always a reason why we've got Chris around here. There we go. So this is the Pro Shares Bitcoin Strategy ETF that was already trading in the marketplace. That was based off of the futures market. And I mean, you tell me, in 1 year's time, has this thing moved up at all? It's more than doubled. And of course, if you're buying W's at the bottom ends of ranges in reload zones, what's that Beamish guy going to tell you to do? Sell half when it doubles. Get yourself a risk-free trade. That's literally what Wall Street does on a regular basis. So can you say comfortably that Bitcoin's actually cheap right here? And I'd have to say, no, you can't. They've actually bid this thing up quite dramatically, over 200% from the bottom. And, any of you that have been working with me over the years, you see these holes on this chart. And maybe I should pull the chart up itself so you can actually see them. Is there some sort of statistical probability that if I happen to see a hole on a price chart, especially an ETF exchange traded fund, is there some sort of statistical number that we can use, refer to, that says, well, about this often these holes all get filled in? And you might argue, this hole here, this hole here, this hole here, this hole here. Well, it's the same logic. Basically we are filling in these gaps as we rally up. Could we rally up some more? Sure. I'm not going to say that isn't the case, but I guess just looking at this, considering that this IPO event was the very end of a very long process, would it not make sense? And this is Mr. WD Gann 101. He would just simply say that if you see a market move up over a full calendar year, odds are it's going to retrace 50% of that move. That's just very natural. And of course, good old Brian and his reload zones, you can see where the reload zone of this past year's price action is. It's not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward. What's interesting too, and maybe this is something you've never heard before, and if you haven't, maybe note it or write it down. Mr. Gann actually also said that what he really likes to do to come up with 50% levels is just simply take the high and divide that number by 2, using the high here in this case 2383, and the low we're going to use is 0. And this just gives you a very simple, what's a raw number 50% retracement. And oh, by the way, that would basically take us back down against all of this key support. I mean, you could actually technically argue that this gap is still somewhat open, right down into here. I mean, that's not been closed yet. And then, of course, oh, gee whiz, there's actually gaps open down here. So, actually, I really like thinking about 50% retracements of this ETF, just using the high and 0. And oh, gee whiz, what a coincidence. There's Brian's big fat fib, 78.6. You know how much he loves this fib. So I don't see any reason why we can't trade down to that level over the coming little while. But it wouldn't surprise me one bit. Now, why would I be sort of thinking about this happening now? And I don't know whether, we do have obviously the halving event coming up here in April. Usually the rule is, and of course, in 2020s, I don't know whether anything can be labeled usual, but usually the rule is the market likes to top about a month or so ahead of that halving event. Suppose as a good example, if we look at LTC USD, Litecoin, of course, recently did its halving event. And you see, there was the halvening event, and there was the top of the market. So you can see how dramatic price usually comes off. And I've been through a few of these Litecoin halvening events, and every single time it's always exactly the same. So I don't know. And, what is this? This is about a month and a half. I mean, if this was the top because of all this ETF stuff, and that's sort of your market pivot here in the short term. And it turns out that it wasn't 1 month, it was 2.5 months ahead. I could buy that argument. Also, to understand though that this is a V top in itself. We could very easily turn around and then come up and put in a top like that. No problem whatsoever. So I'm not necessarily quote unquote calling a top, but what I wanted to sort of highlight with all this is what I would normally expect to happen in this IPO kind of environment. I think that the market was dramatically bid up here. You remember in the middle of the summer, right? This is when that Fink guy came out and he like literally put a floor into the market here. Actually, I thought it was right around here. It's interesting how that disconnected. Like if we look at we actually look at the Bitcoin chart. Mr. Fink actually came out and publicly barked, I want an ETF. And this thing was heading down and it was like sell in May and walk away. I was on vacation. Everything was working lower. And then all of a sudden he comes on CABC. I'm all about hope, right? What a fucking joke. What a con job. You're not. You're all about screwing the public, jerk. Anyway, he came in and he said, thou shalt not go any lower until I get my goddamn ETF. And then the market just jerked, knee jerked away from there, came right back down into his levels again, could not break through these lows, and then turned up, right? Which, of course, starts setting up our Foggin bombs, 2.618. What a big surprise. You could make the argument that really everything that you've seen here over the past month or so has just been nothing more than just the chaos of what price does around 2.618. I actually think that this is quite chaotic and actually it's quite poetic as well. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make here is that, wow, I mean, that's basically one directional. And what's also interesting too was on this event, as price was being bid up here, what did we hear out of the public? We actually heard out of the public that get ready for, what did they call it? Like a God candle or something like that. Everybody in the public was expecting Bitcoin to absolutely go absolutely apeshit, insane bullish to the upside. There were actually a couple really interesting tells that we do teach in our education program, a little bit more advanced. So I don't really talk to the public too much about this, but I'll just show you that because it's such a cool image. But like in our level 3 program, we explore trading with the DOM and depth of the market. And are there any tools that you can use to sort of gauge order flow? The only question is, where the hell did I put the damn chart? Did I hope I didn't put it away. Is it over here? No. Over here, fingers crossed. Oh, fudge. Maybe I did. Anyway, I had a really cool chart. It was an image. It was a screenshot that I took of the tensor charts people, their price chart, and I don't know what the hell I did with it though. God, it was such a cool chart. Ah, darn. Anyway, this is one thing. One bad part about doing these videos on the fly here like this is sometimes I misplace images that I'd really like to show you guys. But I don't think I have it here. It really sucks. Might have been this one. Oh. Anyway, on the Tensor Charts platform, they have this thing called the counters ratio, which basically shows the difference between limit orders and market orders. If we're lucky, maybe they still have it on there. I don't know. Let's see. And as we were coming into that event, oh my God, the market buy orders, which is usually a pretty good sign of the retail public puking out and panic buying. They were just coming in like crazy. It was just absolutely insane. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think this was the event right here. And you can see all these bubbles. I mean, they just were absolutely, it was just market buy, market buy, market buy, market buy, market buy, market buy. And then literally as soon as the ETFs were announced and were listed, then all of the sort of panic accumulating buying stopped. And then it was like literally a desert on the other side of it. And the market, it was just simply like the market, just there were no buyers. And unfortunately, with these ETFs and what we kind of pointed out in the, this isn't really the best example, but nonetheless, hopefully you can see what I'm talking about there. What we found, which sort of, made sort of insult to injury, was on this actual event. Oh, darn. Anyway, on the actual day of the listing, the iShares people mysteriously were the only ones that were actually really allowed to do anything. And I mean, look how many damn ETFs there are. I mean, just think about this. All of these people that are involved, and this is what I was barking to this sort of TRI audience. Every single person that was involved in this ETF, you can see how many different houses are involved. You got like fucking Novogratz in here. You got the ARC. What's her name? Kathy. By the top of the market. What the hell's her last name? Kathy something. What's her name? Wood? Is that it? Wood? Oh, okay. All of these players all coming out with their own ETFs and stuff. I mean, how many of these people do you think are going to be maybe just selling a little bit to pay themselves for all the hard work that they've done over the past year to get this damn ETF listed? All the lawyers that are involved, all the accountants that are involved, do they want to get paid? What's fascinating how most of these issues, like on the first day, this is a screenshot from today, but on the first day, all of these were blank. They had listed prices, but they just weren't trading. And it was so bad that some of the houses were like, well, we're not allowing the retail customer base to participate. It's only the people that want to sell that are allowed to. And I mean, look at the meltdown here. So this smacks of corruption, people. Really does. Really, really smacks of corruption. I've added the Coinbase IPO chart because, frankly speaking, it's the same corruption. It's the same people, same corruption. It's kind of like how I bark about the corrupt structure of the Canadian political system. If anybody came to Canada and looked at the way the quote unquote democratic process is here, they would clearly say, well, all you're doing is you're putting one despot in charge every 4 or 5 years, and the guy basically can do whatever the hell he wants. And every single Canadian prime minister over history, by the end of their tenure, the public wants to run them out of office on a rail because they're so fucking corrupt. And the corruption is just staggering how bad it is. Doesn't matter whether you're on the right and it's like Mulrooney and those clowns and David Crosby, if you guys remember that, and the Hibernia projects, if you remember the corruption around that, whether you're on the left and it's like Jean Chrétien and SNL Lavalin, and how ironic that even Trudeau Jr., he's also been wrapped up in an SNL Lavalin. I mean, these people are so fucking corrupt. It's incredible. And nothing ever changes. I would argue in the stock market, it's the same damn thing. The 1% is firmly in control. And unless you have some sort of storming of the Bastille kind of thing, and you actually get sort of a situation where, you got a whole bunch of people that are motivated to actually build things and make change, fundamental structure change of ours, nothing's going to change. The 1% are just going to keep doing what they do. And I would argue that there's no difference with the Bitcoin ETFs that were launched and the way that this Coinbase IPO was launched. And the irony of it all is that looking back in hindsight, I mean, this Coinbase IPO, it went to like literally 10% of what it came to market. I don't think it's going to be that bad in these ETFs. But the rule of thumb is that they should fall in half. And a really good historical comparison illustration that I always like to show students if I'm ever sort of trying to convey this message is if you look at the Facebook IPO. Of course, I don't think it's even called Facebook anymore, is it? Meta platforms, whatever the hell that means. But and isn't it funny how just in like 1 year, how he went from basically social pariah stocks like $80-90 to back to $375? Was that maybe slightly manipulated there? I don't know. Seems a little bit suspicious, eh? But anyway, I digress. That's another conversation for another day. So here was the Facebook IPO. And I remember when this thing IPO'd, everybody and their brother was like, this thing is way, way too expensive. It was like, I think they brought the thing to market at like 4 times book value. And, or maybe it was 2 times book, but I think it was 4, which is ridiculously overpriced. I'm a cheap ass, so I'm always looking to buy stock at or below book value. But you can clearly see here, IPO comes out, public got screwed, came in, bought the top of the market, they knocked the thing in by 50%, and there's your big fat W's, there's your buy signals. This might go the way of the gold ETF, which wasn't nearly as bad as something like Facebook. But I still think buying the IPO right out of the gate, probably not the best thing to do. In this particular case, you can see they brought the IPO. They actually were able to bid the market up. Notice the first day, and then the second day, relatively, and then kaboom! And I might argue, just wait for the W's to come in. In this particular case, the longer term W actually came in at that price. And in a weird sort of way, I think that that's actually what you might see with Bitcoin. Now, all you sharpshooters, right? Just be patient, wait for things like reload zones. And that'll be sort of your sharpshooter entry. Notice, they might even call this like a Adam and then a Steve. Steve's got a package here. Hold on. Steve. Come on, Steve. Work with me, buddy. Actually, David, I think, likes to call this an Olga. But anyway, you can see how that's right off the mountain man level, right? And technically speaking, I think that's probably your buy setup kind of idea. But is it maybe a good idea to avoid this for a little while, let the dust settle, let the market show you that, yes, indeed, we're making higher highs and higher lows, W's, reload zones, blah, blah, blah. Probably if we look at the indicators, they started to go into divergence over here. I don't know whether we can see that or not. Don't quite have enough data. You can see Willie. Oh, yeah, Willie did go stupid there. And then you can see, look at actually some buying volume actually stepped in here. That kind of cut. You can see there's nice bullish divergence there, making lower lows, higher lows. So anyway, put it all together. I'm thinking that this Bitcoin ETF and this whole sort of really this whole space, it kind of needs now a digestion window. Now, it's interesting how these double bottoms, right, especially this big honking W, we look back on like a weekly chart over a long period of time, you'll say, well, that was probably a pretty good level to consider value. All right, there is your W on the weekly price chart. I've told you guys repeatedly, W's are your buys. And of course, there was the big rally following that. Does that kind of correspond with what we're thinking should happen with Bitcoin here? Yeah, it does. Because if we go back to our weekly chart, right, remember that this is a rise only market after all, higher highs and higher lows defines a bull market. Coming into halvening events, what happens on the other side of halvening events? Oh my God, look at the rally. Woohoo! Right. And then, of course, a halvening event. This one you can barely see. And all right. So halvening event, pullback, this is what I think needs to happen here. And you'll notice that what a big surprise from the top back down to the bottom, 50% tag. Also the structural breakout tag. I think that something like this needs to happen. The only problem with this kind of market is damn difficult to sneak your way in off of that. If it's just a big tail right down into, Wyckoff checks, that kind of idea. It's going to be tricky to be able to do a trade there. But nonetheless, you can see I like the idea that sort of like that gold IPO that I was just talking about there a bit ago. Could we use a bit of time to consolidate this big move up here and then put in some sort of base to get us ready for that coming big bull run? Yeah, I like that. Also, too, we've talked lots about how the first 6 months of this year should be kind of sketchy. If we go hopefully I can do this relatively quickly. I showed you Larry Williams, who I think I highly respect in the marketplace. He is showing things like typical U.S. election year kind of performance. What does the stock market usually do? Usually, the first 6 months of that election year is kind of a meh market state. And then also too, we talked about the January barometer. It's also suggesting here's another graphic illustration of sort of like what to expect from that gold ETF launch and then the Bitcoin ETF launch. Does it make sense for us to maybe have like a 6-month consolidation window following this ETF launch? And then, as I'll show you just here in a second, if we actually look at what typical sort of price action for that, first half of that election year, if I can find the damn chart, it takes me forever to find these things. Kind of didn't seem like it was that long ago that good old Larry did this. Where are you, Larry? There he is. So I like the idea that, through this sort of notice April, May, June, July, we don't really break out in earnest until sort of the end of the summer. And, this dip here in like February, March, of course, we said that we showed you the Litecoin chart, the way that Litecoin topped out about a month or so ahead of its halvening event. And then actually into the halvening event, price was kind of soft and, sort of continued to flounder. Could we see the same situation? We know that Bitcoin has its halvening event in early April. So do we top out somewhere here? You can see the broader stock market tops out sort of generally speaking the middle of February, and then we roll over. Could we see the same kind of performance out of Bitcoin here? Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Really nothing out of the ordinary here, folks, really. So having said that, I think the number one message, and what I've done on this weekly chart is there is that 2015 cycle. What I kind of think needs to happen here is probably just we need to come back down into this window. Remember, Mr. Fink, publicly got all crazy touting about how he wants his Bitcoin ETF, right? When we started trading against these lows. Could you make the argument that there's a nice big fat liquidity pool down in here for them to flush out, get some weak hand stops to flush? Yeah, I could see that. It wouldn't be shocking. I'm not going to say that is what's going to happen. What I'm going to simply say here is what has been my message to all of you people as we've been working our way up here. Hopefully, what you heard from me and what you say is, well, Brian, you've been saying there's no way in hell you could be a buyer here. That's really the message. And if anything, if you did buy off of 18, 19, 20,000 bucks, I sure hope to hell you're selling half and establishing a risk-free trade. You know, we got one guy who I always tell you, I think he's going to be a billionaire here by the time we're done here. Our buddy Eddie, he's saying, yeah, there's not really any reason for me to get too excited here other than I'm going to be selling into this event here. And then I'm just going to wait for the market to calm back down and maybe start painting W's again. It might take this kind of window for that to happen. Who knows? It might, this would be sort of like, let's come back to call-in zone, go sideways, and then start to continue our way higher. Okay, that's fine. If that's what has to happen, okay. You can see where ideally I'd like to see price come back to, and it would make sense. Wash out all these weak hands, Brian's favorite fib. And then, like I said before, if we did something like just even a 50% rule, I'm going to take this number to 0. So I'll go coordinates. There's the top, and then I'll do this 0. Well, you know that 50% level now must be about basically a half. That's 50 G's. So probably like 25,000 bucks, right? What do you think? So if we go 50%, boom, there's your 50% level. And notice that's smack right dab in the middle of my reload zone. So I do love the idea, and I'll be more than happy to be a buyer if we can get back down into this area to actually go and buy some Bitcoin. But the same message that I told you, and this is why I have to keep saying the same damn message over and over and over. And it probably sounds like I'm a broken record. And you're not a lot of fun, Brian. If you're a salesman, right? You're supposed to be telling us to buy, and we're all going to get rich, and everybody wants a Lambo, and oh my God, it's the best place in the world to be at TRI because we're all going to get. And it's gone. Oh, that's what typically happens in this stupid game. And then lawsuits start flying right, left, and center. What does Brian do? 50 viewers of the video. Actually, we're not doing bad today. We got 80 people here. Don't buy up here, you idiots. If you buy up here, you are asking for trouble. And this is exactly what trouble looks like. It looks like this. This is a train wreck. And, I'd just be curious. When we point out, or at least when Brian points out, wicks on the price chart, when we look back over time, what do we call the people that are trapped in here? This is your opportunity to interact with me. I know for the past hour, I haven't given you guys a moment to get a word in edgewise. But I mean, you've been working with me. Some of you have been watching me years. Who are these people now? All of these people trapped in this damn wick up here. Very good, Richard. Well, yeah, we're not allowed to use that expression, Kevin, because if we start talking like that, then I'm going to get contracts put out of my head. These are the trap bulls. These are the people that got sucked into the story, and now they might be stuck in this thing forever. Just no, they're not sleeping on the bed. I can tell you that damn much. They might be trapped in here a very, very long time. And it shouldn't surprise. I mean, here we are. We banged into, this is the reason why I teach you guys this level and why it's so damn important. This 61.8 fib. And this is why this mountain man guy made so much money as a professional crude oil trader. All he does is he just hits 61.8. Do you think he's a happy camper today? I'd say he's probably doing pretty good. Also, too, this was such an important trend line. I even posted this on social media where I was like, this has got to be one of the, so many people in the public are watching this one line that you can just imagine how many sell orders and how many people were kind of like, if the price ever gets back to this trend line and it tags it, I am so out of here. In fact, you know what? Call up my broker and make damn sure to have that order working, or if you can do that in crypto. Do find it interesting. Remember, we had said there a moment about how utterly corrupt all this is. Remember, we had said there with regard to the ETF, how oh, that's not it. Where was there? I have the ETF image on here somewhere. Thought I did. Too many charts. Anyway, no, that's not what I want to show you. Anyway, we can do this. I don't think this is the one that I wanted to show you though. Yeah, there we are. So what a surprise. The only people allowed to sell right out of the gate are the insiders that were part of the deal. They were the only ones that were allowed to get stock up off top. Stock off up top. Try saying that 10 times fast. Remember, this was a huge level. Huge level. Retail public was not allowed to participate. You are not going to be allowed to get out of this thing and take profits, and what I heard was that a lot of the business being done in this space really had very little to do with the new ETFs. It was all the people that were stuck in this GBTC because it was an over-the-counter OTC issue. They wanted to sell and they were just waiting for the ETF event. And I think there was one other one in this list. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the BITO. Same thing. That those are the people that actually were the major sellers. Again, the irony of it all is, are you aware that the Rothschilds actually are long Bitcoin? I should be able to. I don't know whether I can or not, but I should be able to go back on my Twitter feed. And I actually tweeted out the day that the Rothschilds publicly said that they bought the GBTC. So they bought this GBTC that was listed on the over-the-counter market at $1,000 Bitcoin. So at $40,000, do you think the Rothschilds made any money on this? And those are the people that were actually allowed to sell when this thing actually listed up top here. So again, just smacks of the ridiculous corruption of this space. So put it all together, and I've been barking at you guys forever about this. Nobody should be surprised whatsoever that this was a buy the rumor. How does the rest of that expression go? Let's see if any of you are actually listening to me. Buy the rumor. Mr. Crickets, how does this go? Buy the rumor. And you got to learn this, people. If you don't learn this, you're just doomed to repeat it. And you just get suckered in like everybody else. I mean, you have to learn this. Sworn it was on one of these charts. I had the coolest. Oh, yeah, here it is. I even had it. I just didn't scroll out enough. This was the image I was sharing on the chart. That literally, look at all the public coming in and panic buying. That's what these green circles are. They are market buy orders. So through this whole last blow off top, right? This was pre-market, 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 pre-market. ETF is listed. And then what did it do following that? Literally, the buyers just vanished. Yeah, well said, Andre, right? Thank God for the public and their stupidity. They're the ones that came in and buy this. They just market buy. I don't care. I have to be because these people were all convinced that there was going to be a God candle on the actual event. And yeah, it was a God candle. The problem is that it went the wrong freaking direction. Boom, God candle in your face. So, also too, this is sick. Notice, where the hell is it? Yeah, it's not on this. I mean, I've so obviously with this ETF, I had like 5 million different charts going. So there were so many different conversations. But I did find it interesting. Like, this is a good conversation here. Um, if you were playing that bot into that event, it's interesting. There was the bot long level, move your stop to scratch. Did you just get blown out here and just say, you know what, leave this thing alone? That actually wouldn't be that bad of an idea. Move your stop to trailing. Look how absolutely insane it got here. And you might even argue that if you were in this, you got this wicked empire top, and then the bear just took over here at about 40, what is that, 45, 6 or so. So any bulls whatsoever, I mean, you were told you better get the hell out of there. And then the thing just started to drop like a rock. But fascinating, look where it dropped to. I guess a couple things jump out at me about this chart. The first thing is, oh, well, isn't that a reload zone? Isn't that what's supposed to happen? What happens if we put, that Beamish guy always is saying, if you, and actually, before I show you this, let's quiz and let's see whether you guys can actually answer this. At any given point in time in the marketplace, one should expect the market to trade back to this level. Now, what level is Brian talking about? What should you literally expect to happen at any given point in time? Right, 38.2s. So it is interesting that if we just look at this price range off of the double bottom, that's Mr. Fink's low there, and we draw a fib, look where 38.2 is. Are we actually doing anything really out of the ordinary here? Not really. It's just a whole bunch of, for lack of a better term, somebody on YouTube mentioned this, so it wasn't me. A whole bunch of suckers came in and bought up top here. I don't know. Is the momentum telling you to maybe cool your jets? When you look at this price chart, does that not jump out at you? It sure as hell jumps out at me. I mean, you were actually told officially you better cool your jets over here. Look at this RSI failure. You were told to cool your jets over here. Look at Willie. Is Willie stupidly oversold yet? No, we just came out of being overbought. So what the hell are you doing buying up here? And we're banging right into a mountain man level? What are you, on drugs? So I don't think it should surprise anybody. And this is why I teach you guys this stuff. Is if you see a market going up like this, like gangbusters, and you just draw your fibs, at the very least, I'm not saying that we're going to zero. All I'm saying is if you do want to be a buyer, maybe at the very least, just wait for Colin and his pump chaser zone crew. Just wait for things like 38.2s. My whole trend continuation trade setup says that I must see at least a 33% correction before I can start thinking about, okay, maybe this is setting up a base for another move higher. That means I have to see the market come down to this level. Is that what the market is actually in the process of doing right now? I think so. So I don't think this shouldn't be shocking to anybody. And the fact that this was all wrapped around a big fundamental event, like we said, buy the rumor, sell the news. I think that a whole bunch of Wall Street people just made an absolute killing. Like, you can just imagine how many millions and millions of shares there are in these things. Just go through. I bet you each one of them has somewhere between 50 and 100 million shares. And here is what's his face? Novogratz, right? He's even in on this. I think he is the Galaxy one. I think that's the BTCO. I'm not positive. It's one of these. But and there's, like I said, there's Kathy Wood. She got to go and ring the register on all this. So as I said, I mean, I showed you the Facebook example. We saw how the gold ETF sort of played itself out. I mean, do you all understand now? I mean, let's just do a quiz. And I don't know, I see 80 some odd 90 people watching this video. Is anybody getting any value out of this presentation I'm giving you guys today here? And if so, do you think maybe you could hit the like button? I don't know, do me a favor. I think I always hear other people on YouTube always going, "Oh, please, please hit the like button. For God's sakes, hit the like button." Hopefully, I'm teaching you people some good stuff here. I wouldn't mind seeing those likes up a little bit higher. But anyway, maybe we can encourage you to give Brian a little bit of love here. But hopefully, I've taught you a bunch of things. And like I said, in the newsletter, you can get this document, this sort of matrix that I put out here. I think you can make a lot of pretty good arguments about that. Number one, this is business as usual. There's nothing new going on here. Number two, what should we expect once an IPO has actually been priced, brought to market? And then number three, if we should expect certain things like a 50% drop in price of these ETFs and stuff, because it's pretty business as usual, would that align with just our normal technical look at this is an existing ETF? Would it align with what we ought to expect if we were just normally just looking at a chart and starting to draw some levels, i.e. gaps need filling in, reload zones need trading to, 50% retracements of entire ranges, trend lines need to be traded back to, and of course we've got the halvening event coming up. What usually happens following halvening events? I don't know. I hope that helps. That was the big message of today. So I hope you got some value out of that. And as I've said here repeatedly today, this top came in at exactly where tops really should come in. So really nothing out of the ordinary here whatsoever. Nothing. It's completely business as usual. I suppose the big question really for all of us now is what is the broader crypto market going to do? So if we look at something like the total crypto market cap, which this is a pretty good proxy for what the broader crypto market is doing, it wasn't a question of are these things actually spitting like short signals. Still don't know whether I really have any short signals, but let's try and just respect the writing on the walls. Are we near the upper end of the trading range? Or are we near the bottom end of the trading range? And don't fight me on this, people. Come on. Reload zones, chaos theory, couple chaos theories, alt A, B, C, D extension levels. And I really wouldn't fight this. As our process goes for trying to find trade ideas, ideally we want to wait for trade location. I think we have location on Bitcoin. Do we have location? I think we were in location, and the location was very violently just rejected. The good part about this picture, though, is you notice that our BFRN, which usually is traded to, has not been traded to yet. So in a weird sort of way, I could actually believe that we're going to come up and do a little fuck you against those peaks. Come up, hit that big fat round number. It's a big psychological event. And then, like we said, usually these things top out about a month or so ahead of the halvening event. Since we know the halvening event is here, we also know that there's a huge eclipse, a window coming up here. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some shenanigans in and around the market here before we get to this huge level. So am I actually saying that this is a short here? No, I'm not. I'm saying that if you were long off the bottom, for fuck's sakes, I hope you're taking some profits. And if you did want to buy and invest your hard-earned money in Bitcoins, I think there's probably a better area for you to be shopping. Shopping up here makes no sense at all. And I might argue the exact same thing in the broader crypto sphere. Come into short trade location. You tell me, is there any anecdotal evidence that the indicators are starting to suggest that the market's getting overbought or it's going into divergence? The answer is clearly yes. But notice we have 2 confirmed, 6 potential. If anything, to find a top here, I actually want to see it the other way around. I want to see 6, 7, 8 confirmed bearish divergences. As soon as I see that, then I go into step number 3. What's step number 3? If I actually want to short them. Step number 1, location. Step number 2, indicator confirmation, which we are getting slowly. It's not there yet. But what if we do get that? What's step number 3? Very good, Zonks, right? We want to see a nice M. And really, it would make perfect sense on the Bitcoin story. If this was a top, who can tell me what chart pattern would be created? And I actually even made reference to it earlier today. So if you were paying attention, you heard it. But what chart pattern would be created if that was a V top and then we settled down, then we came up and we put in a nice M through that? What would we call that kind of pattern? And by the way, this is the way most markets actually pivot. If I do that, maybe that helps you a little bit. What do we call this? If you don't know, get your butt into the education program. And actually, that might be a really good segue because I think I've talked this into the ground. Hopefully, you get an idea of what I'm thinking here. What would we call this type of pattern? And if you don't know it, get your butt into the school and learn. Anybody? Anybody know what this is called? Like I said, I already made reference to it. I made reference that maybe it's going to look like that. Very good, PTR. Oh, you're awesome. Good try, Jason. You're getting close. Not quite, Alex. What I'm talking about is an Adam and an Eve top, right? An Adam and Eve top creates a triangle. Yeah, where Eve, of course, is your J-Lo booty bottom. If the bottom looks like Brian's ass, then it's a Steve. Or poor old Olga. Olga's from Eastern Europe. She eats a lot of cabbage and potatoes. So call it Olga, call it Steve, call it Brian and his fat ass. Have you ever seen my caboose? Holy shit. It looks like this. But you get the idea. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here, people? Hopefully what you're hearing from me is we're in a horrible place to be a buyer. A horrible place. You should not even the slightest bit interest in being a buyer. That doesn't mean there aren't other cryptocurrencies. This is the total market cap. Ironically enough, there are names like Ethereum and stuff that actually I think there's still lots more upside to go. It's just this is a terrible place to be a buyer. If you want to be a buyer, just wait for somebody like, Colin and his pump chaser zone. Give me a nice W in here and away we go. Okay, that's cool. And of course, let's look at our indicators and let's see some W's out of our indicators, please. And let's see Willie stupidly oversold, not overbought. So you can see it doesn't matter whether it's Bitcoin and the whole ETF crap that we're going through, or whether it's the broader crypto market. You have to appreciate that this market has moved up a lot in a very short period of time. That's my big message to all of you. All right. It's 12:30 here right now. We do have a new school term starting here, and I would love to encourage all of you to seriously consider joining our school program. If nothing else, just to simply learn the process. How do you go about setting yourself up to actually run an effective small business of trading with the expectation of actually making money at this? That's the whole point of this. And, we have absolutely fabulous feedback from our students, how this program greatly empowers them. Although I don't know where the hell all our feedback and testimonials went. They're constantly changing this page on me. It drives me crazy. But somewhere on here, actually, I guess maybe we'll go to the school page. But just come and listen to our students. I mean, there's no better sales pitch for learning this business called trading than just listening to our students. I mean, they say it but wholeheartedly. This is beautiful. In fact, guys have taken tons of money. But I'd also say too that I don't think that people appreciate is that we do have a very robust day trading room. And actually, we're going to open up the day trading room, the advanced trading rooms. We have a harmonics room. We got a bunch of harmonic traders that we teach in the level 3 program. Also, too, we have an options trading room. Zach, of course, doing the spreads program. We're going to open it up as a read only to the whole site, just so that people that happen to be in the level 1 education program can actually see what our advanced traders are doing. In the past, I didn't really want to open those up to the public just the basic level 1 people, because I didn't want them to get themselves into trouble. But I do see that there's like this growing sort of divide. Well, I'm a little old lady and I'm over here. And then the people that really want to learn how to trade, they jam their way through the whole education program. They get to the end. They now become traders. A lot of them get funded at prop firms, or they trade their own money, whatever the case may be. And then they sort of live in their ecosystem on the site. And I'd like to see the site actually sort of work together more. So as an added feature, we are sort of opening up those advanced rooms, just to have nothing more. The current level 1 students and basic site members can actually see the advanced traders going about running their businesses of trading. But having said that, if you want to do nothing more than just learn how to be a little old lady, and the little old lady's kicking ass in the market, absolutely kicking ass. Unfortunately, I just don't have the percentages, and I wanted to get an assistant to help me get this all up and crisp and running, and we've just haven't been able to get this thing going, which is a bit frustrating. But it's my promise to you, over the next month or so, I promise I'm going to get this damn page up and running on the site. The site page right now, it looks incredibly amateur. And my apologies to everybody who's like, hey, I wanted like $1 million web page with dancing girls and the whole damn thing. And all you do is just give me this crappy little list. But, I can just show you right now. Double booked. Now it moved over. There's ARPA, for example. I booked a couple doubles. Got to get this thing fucking updated. Dago, I lost the fucking coins, but that doubled. I think EGLD doubled. The Frax, like I said, I got a couple doubles off on this thing. Link doubled. Loom went up like 3 or 4x. Matic went up really nicely on us. POLS, I was banging out doubles there just a month or so ago. Rune, of course, went up just ridiculous, but there's another one where we fat fingered the stupid coins, and I don't know where the hell they went, but oh well, it's the way you go dealing in DeFi. Stellar doubled, Cripple doubled. I mean, this portfolio has done really, really well. It's way up. There's a bunch of names here that are not even on this list. There was one just the other day that I banged out a really sweet ass double on. So, if you're here just to be a little old lady and just bang out doubles and make great money, okay, fine. Nothing wrong with that at all. Here was the CHR. I mean, this is my bread and butter. I'll be doing this until the day I die. It's just so easy. It's so simple, but you have to set yourself up to do it. You have to have the plan. You have to get your money together. You have to decide where you're going to do it. You have to, figure out what appropriate risk is given the amount of money that you work. You have to get all the mechanics of entering orders and getting fills and stuff. And trust me, in DeFi land, me getting fills on these things, it has not been easy at all. But nonetheless, the point being is I took and I'm doing exactly the same thing. Although this go around, I started with 10x, but I did this in the 17-18 market, and I'm doing exactly the same thing here. So the question is, do you want to change your life? The window is here, folks. This is the window, and the problem here is that if you don't respect this and you go, you know what, I haven't got time right now. I'm too busy doing other things. I guarantee you this window is going to come and go and you'll miss it. But I would make the argument this is the buying window. We are now in this window right here. Now is when, we're no longer in the bear market where everything gets absolutely destroyed. We just went through the dead cat bounce that brought us back to appropriate technical levels. Now we'll go through the process of testing these lows. How deep we go, I don't know. And I'm not in the business of predicting the future. All I'm going to simply say is that we are now in the window. This cycle, there was only a 50% retracement. But the point here is you got to have all your shopping list. And when we go through this window, the shit coins, they will come back down to the bottom. And you have to just be ready, willing, and able to pull the trigger. And I've got tons of names that I'm just like, okay, bring it back down to the bottom. Be more than happy to buy. Okay, so the point here is, do you want to set yourself up to do this? Are you serious about this? Do you want to change your life? I can't answer those questions for you. What I can tell you is every single term, we actually put a raffle together because we'd really like to actually try and make a positive difference in this world. And, every single term, one person gets a free ride with us. It's my promise to you guys. I don't have to do this, but it seems to be a pretty good karmic thing. And I think on balance, it's good what we're doing here. So this is the start of the 2024 year. This is our new school term. And of course, I repeatedly told all of you that watch this, sign up on the form for the raffle, and somebody's going to win a free seat. So it's now about that time. Are we ready? Actually, there's some great messages in the YouTube chat there. Andre says, I will say it, this stuff works, but you need to put in the time. Well said, Andre. In fact, we even had somebody just recently say, maybe, a lot of feedback that we're getting from people that buy the courses, it's too much time. It's too much work. It takes too long. I was promised that if I buy your Get Rich Quick course, I'm going to get rich and quick. And actually, I had a great meeting yesterday where Graham, our level 1 instructor, and I both very comfortably agreed that we actually really like the way that the program is built, because it forces you to slow down. It forces you to learn the process. It forces you to actually learn all of the work that's involved to actually do this correctly. So I like what Andre says there. I will say this stuff works, but you need to put in the time. No doubt about it. Excellent comment, Andre. Troy says, I've been listening to your streams for almost 2 years. I also did TRI level 1, and all I can say is it paid me back 100 times already. Damn, somebody get that guy on the show. Somebody was asking the other day, I mean, me personally, I love the way the testimonials go here on the page. Because as I've said to you before, don't listen to me and don't listen to some salesman pitch you. The absolute best way for you to judge the quality of a product is to listen to the customers, to listen to the people who've actually bought the product. And you go, well, did you get any value? Is this thing half decent? If they go, damn right, well, there you go. That's all the sales pitch you need. Anyway, so excellent comment there, I. If you want to reach out to Julie and talk a little bit about testimonials, we'll add you to the list. And of course, Andrea, I don't know whether you're on the testimonial sheet, but we'd love to have you make a comment as well. Kitchen and Craft says level 1 grad here too. TRI is worth it. Oh my goodness, I love these people. Hugs and kisses. Well said. Chicken and Craft. No, Kitchen Craft. Cool name. Andrea goes on to say, just think how many, quote, Wall Street bets folks would have done okay if they just followed LOL sell half on a double strategy. Isn't that the truth, Andrea? How do we, and this is where I need your guys' help. How do we get in touch with those people? How do, Brian seems to be stuck in this purgatory of 83 views for his videos. How do we get in touch with these people? Because what your guys is saying, everybody says this program is fucking awesome. It teaches you the way to do this correctly. But the problem is that it's a lot of work and nobody wants to do the work. All right. El Diablo says, I signed up 1 week ago for the raffle, but my name is not on the wheel. Is the wheel mad at me? Wow, that's interesting. Chris, where did you get this list? Didn't you get it from Josh? Chris?
I did not get this from Josh. This was from the Google Sheets. So it's anything that someone put in on the Google form page that the link goes to goes into a Google Sheets document. So I got it basically from there.
Well, there you go, El Diablo. We've been giving the same link out. I don't know what you're signing up to. Unfortunately, I being so late in this, I just have to go with what I'm given. So I'm not quite sure why El Diablo you're not on there. My apologies. It's the way it goes. Is there any way we can add El Diablo onto this here, Chris? I don't know if that's even possible.
They can add their name into the chat and I'd have to recreate the whole entire
wheel here. Can we add
wheel.
another name to it? Is that going to be too much of a problem?
Yeah, let me do that. I can do
I mean,
that.
just type in El Diablo. Well, we'll call you El Diablo. If anything, what we need is we need an email from you. Maybe you didn't put the email address in? No further ads. This is only people that said that. And this is where it gets dangerous. If anything, El Diablo, it's almost probably better that we don't do this, because then you're going to have people that just blatantly lie to us. Well, I signed up. Where's my name? Right? And the whole fucking thing gets derailed. So you know what? I'm sorry, El Diablo. You're just going to have to wait for next term and try and make sure. And if anything, come on the site and check before the actual raffle date and just confirm that you are on the list. Because we're coming up to the end of this video here, and I don't think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, look at all this. So Josh wants to be added. He wants to be added to the list as well. I don't know. I mean, what do you think we should do here, Chris? Nolan says add Josh,
tough
please.
spot. I want to say just preliminary looking at all the pages after we go through. His name is on there. I want that. That's what I'm thinking.
Did you look on the list? Did you see whether he was on there already?
Yep, yep.
And he
Added
is
on the
on there.
second. Yeah, I see it from added. Added from the second. I see the name. So I don't probably shouldn't be addressed right now. But yeah, I see his name.
So it's already on here.
That's what I'm believing. I'm trying to confirm that based on the link that I gave you. But yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So there you go, El Diablo. I don't know where you are on here, but Chris is.
Also, keep in mind, I took people's last names off because I didn't have two individual
Ah,
fields for
there you
first
go.
name
So
and last
you
name.
said
So
your name is Ivan. I just saw an Ivan go by. There's an Ivan right there.
right.
So how do you know that's not you, El Diablo? So thanks for derailing the whole show. Now I'm that's it. You know what? Fuck it, I quit. It's no more derailing us. Crazy cheap sheets. All right. Let's see if we can make a positive difference in somebody's life here. Are we ready to spin this damn thing? All right. In 3, 2, hit the like button if you're on the wheel. 1, here we go. And the winner is Ghost 88. That would have been hilarious if it actually hit Ivan. All right, so we have a winner. We have a winner. Oh, isn't that interesting? All right, let's do it like this. So we have it on record. And we will say, put an arrow to Ghost 88. I don't know if that's going to work or not. Let's make that yellow. There is our winner. So congratulations, Ghost 88. Is Ghost 88 here? Who is Ghost 88? Any idea who the hell Ghost 88 is? That name actually does sound a bit familiar, believe it or not. Members Lounge. We'll say congrats to Ghost 88. I do a G or a C. On winning the Q1 24 level 1 raffle. Way to go. Awesome. Okay, so we'll figure out whose email that is. We'll send you out a notice. You have 48 hours to get back to us. I think Ghost 88 is Chinese. Awesome. So let's school up the Chinese. Get them. I tell you, so there's some great Chinese traders out there. You ever seen that the richest guy in Hong Kong? He's a doctor who basically picked off all of the pharmaceuticals as they were coming to market and listed there. And he like literally owns the top 2 floors of a huge Hong Kong building. And he actually built a garden. So the entire top of the building is just basically one big garden, right downtown in like the middle of Hong Kong. There's some damn cool Chinese traders out there. So yeah, let's get more Chinese people in here. That's fine by me. The only people I don't want on the site is I do not want totalitarian dictators. I absolutely hate totalitarian dictatorships. I hate autocrats. I hate democratically elected politicians who are absolute pussies and kowtow to totalitarian dictatorships. I hate those kind of people. Hate with a passion. And I can absolutely tell you without a shadow of a doubt, if this was China right now, I would definitely be in a prison cell. And probably a slave laborer and probably dead. No doubt about it. So, I've told all of you, half of my job is to try and empower you, free you. All of this information, it's not like it's anybody here at TRI's made up any of this. And really, 95% of the people that you see on social media barking about, hey, to follow my trading ideas and you make money, they're just borrowing ideas from other people over the years. Keep in mind, most of the stuff that we teach people is actually created hundreds of years ago, like century ago. There's certainly nothing new under the sun here. The issue is it's all about the freedom of information. Just give me some feedback here, people, please. Do you like the fact that I come on here and I try and give you people this information? I mean, some of this information that I'm giving you, especially with regard to things like chaos theory and stuff, the 1% do not want me talking like this. I can absolutely guarantee you this. I don't know. Do any of you guys appreciate this freedom of information? In CCP China, this does not exist. You can't learn this. So I hope you enjoyed. And congratulations to Ghost88. Let's change your life for the better. And, have another person just like a couple of these people that, look at this Vals right here. Just said that I started watching TRI Community 1 year ago, and I banged out almost 10 doubles following LOL strategy. Everything based just from watching TRI daily briefs. There's no way in hell you can do that in a totalitarian dictatorship. There's no way you can do that with Vladdy shoving his dick down your throat. It's impossible, folks. So if anything, I really, really hope you guys appreciate the fact that I show up here day in, day out, trying to make a positive difference in this world, trying to impart this information, trying to extol the virtues of freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of everything that we do here at TRI. Because if we succumb to Vladdy, if we succumb to Winnie, if we succumb to the Ayatollah rock and roll over there, all of this disappears. It all vanishes. They, as Winston Churchill would say, democracy is horrible, stunningly corrupt. The bankster class, they absolutely love this. They rape us very slowly. They use a little bit of Vaseline, so it's not horrific. But no doubt about it, democracy is terribly corrupt. But in comparison to autocracy, in comparison to communism, in comparison to, whatever the hell you call it, fucking Winnie the Pooh land over there, this is a hell of a lot better than that shit, that's for sure. And I hope you guys appreciate this. So, PMA for the win. Keep in mind, how do I say this? I think the universe has rewarded me for my efforts. I don't have to worry about paying rent. I don't have to worry about bills being paid. I don't have to worry about clothes on my back. Thankfully, in the country that I live in, I don't have to worry about, some totalitarian dictator just coming and stealing my money at gunpoint. Let's fingers crossed. Let's hope China doesn't deteriorate into that, but it could very easily with this crazy idiot in charge of our country right now. I don't think so, but anyway, we'll see how it goes. So I do believe that Spirit actually likes the job that I'm doing. And I do, unfortunately, Adam, did you see the temperature in Vancouver right now? Keep in mind that Liam, his big, hey, there's Ghost 88. Way to go, dude. You won. Do you see him in the lounge there, Chris? Maybe you could reach out to him and just PM him and say, way to go, dude. You won. And then make sure to give him the email that he put in the thing just to confirm that it's him. Somebody might just have created that Ghost 88 thing right away. I don't know. So, yeah, there you are. You're over on YouTube too. Way to go, man. Hey, that's right. It might be a she as well. So beg your pardon. Yeah, I mean, my wife technically could be a ghost right now. So there you go. Although, it's interesting. I think that she's moved on to a new life. I think she's now been given permission to move on to the next stage. So just to finish off this thought, I hope you enjoyed the presentation today. I don't want to be one of those I told you so kind of guys, but the bottom line here is if you didn't understand why it was so dangerous for you to come in as a buyer of Bitcoins and get all wrapped up in what just happened there in the marketplace, maybe it's worth your while just to stick around and listen to me for a bit and see if you can learn a little bit. I don't think there's anything really out of the ordinary that happened here. And unfortunately, there are now a bunch of trap bulls up here. Let's hope for their sake that they actually can get released. And I want the best for everybody, right? PMA for the win, all that kind of talk. I don't like the brutal shill, and I really don't like when guys like Joey Diamond and stuff manipulate the market with what he says. That kind of stuff makes me very, very upset. But thankfully, right, because we have this freedom of speech, we're able to convey this and say, Joey Diamond, we don't like you. You are bad karma. You're a bad, bad boy. Bitcoin's a fraud, and yet JP Morgan is like convicted of like, I think it's like $300 billion of fraudulent lawsuits settled. Oh, what a surprise. They just settled the Epstein case out of court. Wonder if there's a little bit of nefariousness going on in there. So let's hope Brian can continue on this journey, continuing making a positive difference in your people's lives. Super proud of the team at TRI. Website looks pretty damn polished now. We spent a fortune getting it that way, but oh well, here it is. So at least it looks like a 21st century website. School program's ready to go, and I don't think any of our morals or ethics are compromised. We're going to make you work. It's a pain in the ass, but if you really want to learn how to do this correctly, you get your butt in the school program, and you just keep working until you've done, at the very minimum, your 100 paper trades. Learn setups, learn risk management. That's basically Brian's 2 rules of investing. Once you get that down, you're set for life. Then you can go and make a reasoned, solid investment decision for the rest of your life. Hint, 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 green boxes. Green boxes within green boxes. Oh, now you're getting Brian really excited. All right. So I was going to say, Adam, just to finish off the thought, sadly, no Liam today, simply because the weather is just an absolute nightmare here. I don't really like driving in the snow. And as you can see, although maybe I got rid of it, here it is. Current temperature in Vancouver is -8 degrees Celsius. It's an absolute poop show out there. You can see we're back above freezing tomorrow. And actually, you can see the weatherman was even way off. But hopefully, I can get back out to the house and hang out with Lily and stuff when we're back above freezing. And driving the car isn't such a nightmare. Right now, driving the car is just impossible. And actually, on Thursday, I got trapped over on the other side of the city. I had to leave the car on a side street, locked, and I think I'm in pretty good shape. But who knows? Maybe the car will be gone by the time I go and pick it up. But for the past couple of days, it's been absolute snowmageddon here in Vancouver. So all I've been doing is sitting in the cozy, warm condo here, just working away on site projects and various different tasks I have to complete. So. All right. Is there anything else that we wanted to talk about here today, Chris? Did I cover everything? I hope I did.
I think we covered all of our bases here. I think we're good.
All right. As I had said there just a moment ago, well, probably a few minutes ago, we've got the big meetup, and we're going to have weekly meetings on the site with Adam. Hopefully, you can be at the next weekend meeting. TBG also doing a great job quarterbacking. So if you happen to be in El Salvador or the neighborhood through the latter part of February, we'd love to see you. It's going to be a bit of a vacation for Brian. I'm going to kind of unwind a little bit. And also, too, just FYI, we're going to be driving down the west coast of North America. Hopefully, if we can get out of town and the snow's a little gone by then, hopefully it will be. If it is actually still snowing, Chris, we might just have to hop in a plane and fly down to LA. I don't know. Maybe we'll spend a week at Disneyland or something. But anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I really don't want to drive down fucking south if it's an absolute snow blizzard here. Anyway, we'll deal with it as we go. But if you happen to be in San Francisco area, San Francisco, Sacramento, Portland area. In fact, actually, just an FYI, we're going to do the weekly Coinigy show. I think the February the 7th, we're going to try and do that weekly Coinigy show with Joe from Portland, because that's where he lives. So if you happen to be in Portland area, if you happen to be in the Sacramento area, if you happen to be in the LA area, we're going to hit all of these points along the way. Then we're going to fly out of LAX down to El Salvador, either the 14th or the 15th. So you want to PM me and let me know that you're either in Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, or Sacramento, or LA. We'd love to stop in and give you a big smooch. All right, I think we'll leave it at that. Have yourselves a great rest of your day. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. All the best. Congratulations to Ghost 88. The only thing left for Brian to say to you at this point is bye for now, you good people.